Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bedomy and this is Warhammer 40k Mechanicus, a turn-based RTS developed by Barracks Studios and published by Casino Games. And honestly, I'm kinda fed up with the RTS genre at this point, but for all it's worth, Mechanicus is a very well-made game in its own right. But because it's wearing the Warhammer logo, I'm kind of frustrated with it. Granted, the turn-based RTS is something you would expect a Mechanicus game to be, because it's methodical, it requires patience and careful planning, as well as a lot of research in order to play properly. So you have to have a mindset of a Mechanicus adept. But I'm kind of saturated with Warhammer's insistence on making RTSs. Granted, I know that Warhammer started off as a tabletop RTS as well, but with the amount of lore that the IP has generated over the years, you'd think that the developers would try to do something else besides RTS games. I mean, seriously, for every Vermintide and Space Marine, you get Dawn of War, Total War, Mordheim, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, and the Stormguard, and the list goes on. It's mostly RTSs, and that's usually the good games. But I'm honestly kind of fed up. I really want to see a different game in the genre when it comes to this IP. It would be interesting to see a Warhammer Fantasy stealth game featuring Skaven Clan Ashen, for example, or a Warhammer 40k Sniper Elite spin-off such as Vendicare Assassins or something. Studios, please do something else besides RTSs. I know that's a guaranteed win when it comes to Warhammer to just make an RTS, but with the amount of lore that's present, you can experiment a bit. You could try to make a Telltale-styled Caiaphas Cain adventure game, or a regular Monkey Island adventure game with Caiaphas Cain. Just out of the top of my head. Because Caiaphas Cain is think of it as Black Adder, or I don't know any American equivalents of it, but think of it as Black Adder in space. It's guaranteed to be an intelligent game, it's guaranteed to be a funny game, and it's a guaranteed win when it comes to puzzle adventure games. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. What is Mechanicus? Well, Mechanicus is a turn-based RTS, as I already mentioned, that features the Adeptus Mechanicus. I won't say a sub-faction of the Imperium of Man, but they are pretty much independent from them. They do work with them, but they're a more or less independent faction that just works together with the Imperium. They are the only. The Adeptus Mechanicus is the only research and development faction and mechanical service provider that the humans have at the moment. Well, it's not at the moment because they are literally the only ones allowed to research and develop technologies for the humankind. But they're pretty much religious about this. Well, they are the cult of the machine, so they worship the machines as gods and spirits. And almost anyone who tries to research and develop or just invent something without their permission or knowledge will be executed on the spot. Their general mentality is, shiny stuff, mine. Shiny stuff, not mine. Boom, you're dead. Now it's mine. That's how Adeptus Mechanicus usually goes. They hoard all the technology they can find for themselves and occasionally release it to the rest of the wider Imperium, but most of the shiny stuff usually goes to them. And if they come across alien technologies, well, not human technology, so get the flamer, or in this case, the magnet, or EMP. But in most cases, alien technologies get destroyed, and the remains are gathered around to research it as a form of defense from the said machines. But the Adeptus Mechanicus is most commonly known as the arch-enemies of the Necron tomb worlds. They frequently go on expeditions to their tomb worlds in order to steal and destroy their technologies, so the Necron tend to have a wee bit of a problem when they see them. And as I already described, Mechanicus is the game that focuses on the Adeptus Mechanicus and their expedition to a tomb world. So without further ado, let's hop into the game and take a look at the gameplay itself. And while I did complain about the oversaturation of the RTS genre, I do have to admit, I really like what the studio did with the game. They did add some unique twists to it. As you can see, this is not only an RTS, but also a dungeon crawling game to be more precise. You have to run around the Necron tombs and explore them to your HUD. You can run around Necron tombs as much as you want, but as you do so, the tomb's timer will rise up, and more Necrons will be awakened to not only ruin your day, but also make things more difficult for the whole story as the game progresses. The higher the timer goes, the higher it will be added to the end game timer in the game itself. So that's the basic explanation of the timer here. As you can see, we're currently on level 1, and the enemy is aware of our presence. And the higher this number goes, the worse things get for us. There will be more Necron to deal with. There will be negative bonuses well, not negative bonuses, but more. The Necron will get extra bonuses the higher the timer is, so it is something of a negative bonus for us. But it's not so bad, because what's a risk without a reward? As you can see, I'm currently standing on a platform that allows me to go in two separate directions, either towards an unknown encounter, or towards a Necron glyph where I can choose one of the options in order to get rewarded or punished for my choice. Same goes for the encounter as well. I'm presented with a choice, and depending on the choice I make, I'll either get some equipment, or I'll get injured. There are also some Necron encounters I can do outside of mission objectives, and it's usually recommended that you do them because this will reduce the enemy timer a bit. It will reduce the timer for a bit, so you can lower the enemy timer and negative effects that will grant to you. But I'll focus primarily on the main objective because I want to finish the mission as soon as possible. So I'm gonna move towards the glyph because that's usually a better choice between the two. The encounters are not always... the encounters I usually come across are not always rewarding. They usually lead to some negative consequences as well as some positive rewards out of it, but with glyphs you usually have a choice between three options. Either press one glyph at random, or if you did come across one of these glyphs before and you know what you chose it previously, it will highlight it in green so that you know that it's a positive outcome or a different outcome depending on your choice. I chose this one once, and it was a good outcome, so I recorded it, and so the game records it for me in green. But if I choose a wrong one, if I made a wrong choice, I'd probably get punished for it. So I'm pretty sure this is a good. I'm gonna choose one at random, but honestly, eating, meaning, money, mode, kiss of blah blah, something about it. So I'm gonna go with this one. I already went for it. Nice. I also got a pretty sweet weapon one out of it. So yeah, next time I come across a glyph, if the symbol I just picked is presented to me, it will be highlighted in green. So that works for me. And since I want to demonstrate everything, I'm going to go back for a bit. It will. Oh. It might increase the level of the tomb, but at the very least, I can show you what the game does with the timer. So, the second level, extra Necrons will be present to our demise, and the choice we're presented here with is usually something, some exploration. It's an exploration puzzle. Well, puzzle is a hard word, but it gives you a choice. Do you want to, well, let's see, remnants of a long terrified imprisonment in the tomb of the chamber, entirely marks scattered walls. Yeah. What do I want to do with the human remains I just discovered here? Do I want to examine them? Do I want to explore the area to see what happened to what led to this massacre? Or do I want to examine the actual mass grave that the humans were put in? Let's see. I'm gonna shelter a bit, and my choice was terrible here, and I'm punished for my choice and that's how the dungeon exploration goes. The game will punish will always punish you for your choices, but on occasion you might even get some rewards out of it. For example, if I examined the mass grave, I'd probably get rewarded with a piece of technology or something, and the enemy would get some extra time to awaken and get another bonus. And while I am speaking about the timer, there is also a little counter here, which is the initiative advantage. And I'm pretty sure most of you already know what initiative is, so I'm not going to explain it too much. But you can also trigger this gauge to go in your favor or the enemy's favor. But in general, it's in neutral, but depending on your choices in exploration, it will go one way or the other. And that will dictate which enemy has the advantage in the first turn of the mission. So let's move along. Put ourselves at greater risk, but we should be able to finish off the mission relatively quickly. So that was the dungeon exploration portion of the game. You go from one tally to the other and fight the local enemies, or just choose one of the three options presented to you. And depending on your choices, you will either get better equipment or you'll get terrible starting situation and stronger enemies. So at the moment, at the start of the turn, we have to choose where do we want to position our tech priests, since we always start with them. They do not cost us any requisition points, and they can move and take some actions for free. As you can see, this is a leveled up, pretty much one of my leveled up characters, so most of his actions will cost me a certain amount of requisition points. But we can generate more with certain abilities, and also grab more with our servo skulls or tech priests around the map. For starters, since we're starting off the match, I'm just gonna position my forces in cover so that they are not in the line of fire for the enemy. They're out of range and they're hidden, so the enemy cannot attack them just yet. They'll have to move and waste some of their movement abilities. And depending on which enemy type I'm dealing with, things can get either easier or harder depending on the situation. But I really do like how the developers animated and created most of these characters. Let me just look at this. Give me a second, let's get a bit closer. Yeah, there's a bit of a problem with the cursor. The game doesn't always recognize some inputs, or it will recognize them differently. No, I want to up. As you can see, sometimes it won't go to the side I'm trying to push with my mouse, but and sometimes it will just sometimes it will just ignore my characters altogether. But I really do like how they animated and designed the characters. As you can see, most of these, most of these tech priests look the same, but depending on the pieces of gear you put on them, there will be a big visual difference. And well, this is not as obvious, but take a look at the guy's feet, for example. As you can see, these are bloody lens flares. This guy is wearing shoes. This guy is walking on claws, more or less, because I changed his feet to mechanical appendages. Same goes for this guy. I switched to. I just love the visual differences that we get for every tech priest we're controlling. Granted, I'm not a big fan of these 45 degree angles the camera rotates to, but what can you do? But anyway, as you can see, the visual design of the maps and characters is very well done, and I do enjoy the music and the sound effects of the game itself. And the Necron have this gothic orchestral theme that follows them as your, well, not follows them, but follows their maps there when you're in them. Well, the Mechanicus have their techno, this one, mechanical techno beats that goes for them as they move along and run around. It really sounds like something used as a theme song for the tech priests, honestly. So let's not waste too much time. As you can see, we have a limited range of movement. Anything within the blue area is a free movement zone, and anything inside the yellow area will require a requisition point from us. So let's see. This is my, this guy is one of my tech support units. So I'm not gonna use him just yet, but primarily he's a support unit that can go around and collect requisition points, as well as scan certain objects in the game. Every tech priest has a servo skull that follows him, and it will reveal the statistics of the enemy combatant. But some units have special devices that will reveal the stats of multiple enemies. So I'm gonna use his ability to see what's the armor for these two and their health status, and this will be showcased to me on the heads-up display. And since I already have a target in front of me, I might as well fire upon it. Some servo skulls can gather. Some servo skulls can gather all the requisition points, but most No, most every Zero Skull can acquire one requisition point from these generators, but some skulls will vary in their abilities depending on which upgrades you take. For a support specialist, he can collect multiple cognition points, to be more precise. He can take all of them, and our fighter. Well, let's see. Okay, I'm not going to use them just yet, but let's say one of our fighters, this guy for example, our fighter here can send a Silver Skull to damage one enemy and then reveal its statistics. And depending on the enemy, that skull can also interrupt the enemy's overwatch. So for now, I'm just gonna wait this turn so that I can preserve my fighter, and I'm gonna use the actual damage dealing skull to interrupt the overwatch and move forward. As you can see, now that the enemy is interrupted, they cannot overwatch, so I can move closer to our enemy and freely deal some melee damage to the long-range fighter. And here's the interesting thing about the game's mechanics. If the enemy is in melee range, they cannot use guns, so they will have to move away from our melee fighter and risk taking a melee hit from the opportunity attack. We'll see that in the next turn, but the more the game progresses, the better. Well, it's not always for the best, but the smarter we move, the better our chances. So let's do this. I'm gonna send a Silver Skull to collect these two, and send our secondary support closer to our melee fighter. I'm saying support, but she is also our long-range special. I think all of these so far, all of my tech priests are males. So my tech priest healer is also a long-range specialist. So depending on my choices, I can create a full army of tech priests who just move around and deal damage to everyone. But I can also, if I plan carefully and move my forces in an intelligent manner, I can actually deal with my enemies rather effectively. So as you can see, the pathfinding can be a rather stressful thing in the game. If you wanna, you can't just shift click to move your character in a specific direction. He will only go to the space you designated for him using the shortest route possible, and that can lead to a lot of frustration if you're trying to avoid an Overwatch fighter. Well, even though the animation for Overwatch is over, this guy is somehow still in Overwatch. But okay, that's something I can live with. And as you can see, the game, after every turn, will allow you to adjust your roster and your tactics a bit. So after every turn, you get a chance to summon additional forces to the battlefield. These are your Skitarii warriors, and they have, depending on their specialization, they will either be long-range supports or damage dealers, or close-range damage dealers and supports. But they will cost you a couple of CP, a couple of control points in order to summon them and use their abilities. Well, summoning them is mostly your primary goal. But I'm not going to summon them just yet, since our priests should be more than adequate to deal with. Actually, you know what? I'm going to summon one of my fighters just to give you a demonstration of how the game's going. And A critical hit leads to a very, very promising death. Oh! Yes, that... I should have probably thought this through. But yeah, the more damage my soldiers take, the worse things get. And I'm not saying that just because we're minus a soldier, we'll also have to pay the price of Blackstone at the end of the mission. So for every damaged soldier that we bring back, this will cost us some Blackstone to repair them, and that will affect our overall budget. And if we lose the soldier that we took, we won't get that money. We have to pay a fee to use soldiers outside of tech priests in battle. So depending on how many soldiers we take, the better it is. It's better for us if we bring them back at the end of the mission. So our specialist here is he's not pinned down as of yet, but I will put him in a situation where he will be exposed to the enemy. Not completely, mind you, but he does. It's better if he stays in cover. Anyway, this is how the game works. You position your troops into different positions and try to take pot shots or melee hits upon the enemy. And you can also switch visions between normal human vision and the actual tech priest vision, so you can see the grid of movement as well as the enemy commands and interactable objects. Most of the interactable objects. Some of these buildings are just hostile buildings, and they will spawn additional troops to the battlefield. The turrets so far never fired anything at me. They just rose the alarm and summoned additional troops to the battlefield as well. But I have a feeling the higher the level of the awakening goes, the deadlier these turrets become. So, like any turn-based RTS, the main goal of the game is to minimize risk your characters are taking and maximize the damage output they can deal to the enemy. And as you can see, our support character is primarily focused on gathering cognition points, but he can also deal some passive damage with acid-based weaponry. Granted, I did outfit him with melee axe if he ever ends up in a melee fight, and that's a pretty frequent occurrence when it comes to tech priests. And I would recommend that you guys focus on. Well, I would recommend that you equip all of your tech priests with power axes just so that they can deal some amount of damage to the enemy when you're in game. Since enemies in melee cannot fight at long range, so I'm gonna send my melee focused fighter forward, and his perk allows me to. This perk allows me to scan my enemy without the servo skull, so that's a plus. And as you already saw, once you kill an enemy, you are rewarded with a cognition point if you manage to destroy the Necron corpse. These guys have a tendency to resurrect themselves after a turn or two, and the higher the awakening level, the quicker this goes. So for now, I'm just gonna leave my fighter here so that he can melee this Necron when he tries to run away. Afterwards, I'm gonna go for that tablet over there to scan it and get some money as well as destroy it. And that's an interesting mechanic in the game. These terminals you see here are interactable, and they have a pretty hefty sum of Blackstone in it. But they're also pretty decent anti-awakening generators. So if you destroy them, you will knock down the timer for a couple of turns. You will reset it a bit. So try to collect Blackstone and destroy these things as soon as possible. As I said, the game has a lot of elements working for it. It's a really good game, all in all, but it's the saturation of RTSs that I take issue with, honestly. So as you can see, this guy is overwatching us from a safe distance, so we cannot do much at this point. But we can utilize the situation to our advantage. I'm not gonna waste my. Actually, give me a second. I want to check something. Yeah, I have to move a bit. I'm gonna move my primary damage dealer forward and use his ability that allows me to cause some actual damage to everyone. As you can see, depending on the weapon you're equipping, you can do AoE damage or single target damage, and depending on the armor the enemies possess, they can actually resist some of the damage. Thankfully, most of these guys are unarmored, so we can deal with them relatively quickly. But it is recommended that you invest into armor points for your characters. So I'm going to focus fire this guy particularly, since he's in long range and he can be a nuisance. So let's see, can I finish him off? Unfortunately no, but I can use one of my abilities that allows me to become a target, while also increasing my armor. Might as well. I'm gonna take the Overwatch hit and try to absorb some of the damage with the armor. Luckily, the armor did just that, so I'm in melee range for this guy, and my forces can move. My forces can start moving without too much trouble. So let's see, how do I want to do this? I want to get rid of the sniper as soon as possible, but yeah, he's too far away to actually do it, and the requisition points I'd have to spend in order to get to him would be costly. So I'm just gonna push forward, and let's see, can I? No. I'm gonna do this. Let's see, yeah. I'm gonna position myself behind a pillar so that I'm not in the firing range of this guy. And that's pretty much how the game works. There is no dice roll to see if your character will hit the target, but there is a dice roll to see if the target will dodge or will it have an armor save. So it kind of nullifies some of the frustrations you would have in XCOM, for example, where your forces have a perfectly good flank position and 99% chance to hit something, and then miss completely with their shotgun or a rocket launcher. It kind of eliminates some of the frustrations you would see in XCOM, and I'm kind of glad that the developers did put this mechanic into the game. So as you can see, once I destroy an enemy, the Necron will just go get down on its knees, and it will generate a requisition point for us. But we will have to destroy the body if we wish to get rid of the body completely. Otherwise, they will spawn back in and with half health and cause us a lot of stress in the long run. And depending on the Skitarii we're carrying, we can also have a pretty decent cognition generation. If, for example, you take a basic servitor into the game, those guys cost next to nothing, but they do generate requisition as they get damaged. So let's see, what do I want to do here? I want to move my character closer to do some poison damage to this creep, because he teleports a lot. And while we're at it, I really do like the game's variation of enemies. Granted, most of these guys are already pre-existing characters developed. Well, not just characters, but units developed by Games Workshop. But it is nice to see that their mechanics are nicely implemented to the game. That's what I want to say. Every unit is unique. For example, the Scarabs, on their own they're practically useless, but they have the numbers, so they can swarm your position. And while they do minimal damage, they can wither your fighter and block him from moving. So you might want to get rid of them as quickly as possible. Not to mention that they're the healers of the group, so they can restore their Necrons to their full health as the game progresses. So what I want to do here is get rid of the biggest threat, and that's the Necron Sniper. Thankfully, I did destroy him, so that works in my favor. Let's see, what do I want to do here? If I destroy the body, I will get the recognition point back. I will get the cognition point, and I'll get rid of him sooner. So I'm gonna get rid of him. I'm gonna get rid of this. I'm gonna move towards the scanner and move right in front of the turret, which is a problem. As you can see, we just spawned in extra forces. But the nice thing about this new development is whenever our new forces arrive to the scene, the game will restore your full range of movement, so you can adapt to the situation. So the main question is, do I want to change my tactic and pull backwards towards some of these guys to put them in melee range, or do I want to go here and scan the tablet in order to destroy it? So I'm gonna follow my first instinct and position my tech priest forward in order to destroy the tablet and reset the timer a bit. So yeah, the timer is lowered. That's nice. And well, since I have a skull, I'm gonna go and collect one more cognition point and move towards the tablet so I can grab these two. So yeah, the game has a lot of layers to it. How do you want to approach the situation? Do you want to be aggressive and finish everything in one turn, or do you want to, well, depending on the mission parameters, the general objective is to usually kill everything on the map and then grab whatever's on site. But you can also prioritize just one form of the objective, which is don't fight and just scan and destroy the tablet. So you can try to be evasive of the enemy and just go for the main objective, or you can just sacrifice some cognition to generate more of it. It's a really fun game, all things considered. So let's see. How do I want to do this? I'm gonna pull back a bit so that I can do the following. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna go get closer, get rid of, scan this corpse so that I can get rid of it, and I'm gonna do some basic melee damage just so that we can reduce the armor of the enemy and then kill him once he tries to run away. Right, our Skitarii fighter long-range specialist will move to this position Oh, you're in melee, bollocks. Well, at least he can do some damage here. Primarily, this is a scout, so he has a lot of movement, and once he hits someone, the stats will be revealed to you. So it's usually recommended that you keep him in the back and just lay supporting fire that will reveal your enemies to you. Thankfully, you're never in a tight bind. You can always use one of the 3 commandments that you unlock as the game progresses, and depending on how well you perform during missions. So you can get a bigger blessing that gives you 9 cognition points or restores more health to you, or you get a lot of stuff as the game progresses and you complete missions. For now, we're in a pretty good spot, so I'm not going to do anything just yet. Just going to try to... I'm going to try to do something else, and that's not attack my own soldier. I'm going to try to damage this guy with the lightning cannon. That did not work as well as I hoped. But I do have another cognition tablet over there, so I can rectify the situation by meleeing. So yeah, this guy can't do much to us. So let's end the turn here and see where this leads us. At the moment, we are surrounded by Necron, so our main priority is to just stay alive. But as the game goes, you will encounter stronger variations of the Necron forces, and not just snipers and regular shock troopers, or regular foot soldiers. So you have to be careful about how you perform your tactics and actions. Thankfully, the armor will protect you from most damage. So let's see what can... I'm gonna lower my cost for firing so that I can destroy the corpses and do some damage to that guy. Just gonna send my supporter just to do some melee damage. And try to get rid of the remaining Necron before things get too dicey. Melee fighter will just move forward and try to grab that. I'm going to try to go and scan this before things get out of hand. Also, on occasion, the game you cannot shoot for your own forces, so you better be considerate of where you position everyone. At the moment, we managed to position everyone in more or less a decent situation so that we can do the following. We can get rid of most of these scarabs, no problem. So I wasted most of my cognition points here, so I'm gonna try to get rid of the remaining enemies. Unfortunately, no dice. But thankfully, my support unit has a generate cognition points ability, so we're good. And thankfully, the axe can also reduce some armor for us. So that situation is going well. Oh boy. Don't stand in front of the turrets at the end of the turn. Good to know. So that's one Necron. Less Necron to deal with. And that's most of our enemies gone. Lovely. So let's see. I'm just gonna destroy this before another enemy spawns on top of us. I'm gonna block the door so that they cannot show up. That's it for this turn. The melee fighter will move forward. Bollocks, I forgot there was a... Oh well, I'll deal with that when we get there. Let's see, I can check the ignition point. Let's see, can I... Nope, due to the movement range I cannot do anything. And the scarabs can regenerate themselves through the... regenerate themselves here. And they also do acid damage. Right, let's see. Probably could have saved the situation a bit better, but... might as well try to get as much black sand as possible. Let's see, I really want to destroy the tablets, so... let's get rid of it. You'll see why in a few minutes. Well, not a few minutes. You'll see why in a moment. So first off, I'm going to get rid of the remaining Necrons and send my forces forward to deal with the situation. You move. I'm going to put this guitar here. And send my... No, that's not where I want to go. Yeah, the game occasionally will not recognize your input from the first try, so you have to switch the camera a bit and try it from a different angle. But thankfully, it's not something game-breaking, all things considered, so... you can easily just go around and finish one. You can just finish one mission objective and then focus on the next part of the story. So as you can see, I currently managed to get all the scanning done, so I just have to go and destroy the tablets before more enemies are spawned in. So let's I'm gonna waste some ammunition here, but on the next turn I'll get it back pretty quickly. And that reduces the timer quite well, so we get more time to kill the Necron before they can spawn in more of them, or before they can respawn quicker. That's a good thing. And the moment I said that, this happens. Ah well. Thankfully, the moment cognition point resets itself, we get another. If our trooper is there, we can automatically pick it up. So let's do some damage as quickly as possible. The nice thing about this guitar is that their actions do not cost anything. So we can just move our forces closer and get rid of the enemy quickly and efficiently. So let's see. I'm gonna poison this guy as quickly as possible with the machine spirit. As you can see, every time you use a weapon, you fill out this meter, and when the meter is fully charged, you have a bonus. You deal bonus damage, and as well as extra critical damage. I mean, your chances of critical hits have increased. And thankfully, the fact that we managed to do this in this turn speaks volumes. We got lucky, so let's try to get rid of the remaining forces, and bada bing, bada boom! There goes the enemy. So once the enemies are dealt with, you will get all the cognition points in the area, and you can move along with exploring. But once the mission objective is finished, your your mission is over, so you go back to the ship. And this is something I really like about the Adeptus Mechanicus, as well, not only as a faction but as the game itself. As you can see, the voice acting really reflects how the Adeptus Mechanicus would talk to each other. They can't speak to normal humans through synthesized voices and everything, but they mostly talk to each other in binary codes or radio waves and other gibber. Well, it's not gibberish; it's just intangible to a human. So it really is lore friendly when it comes to the game. I like the art style they have for character portraits and the character models they created, as well as the music and the sound design of. As I hope you heard already, most of the weapons really do sound like plasma guns or power axes. Do have that sound of the impact that an axe would have if it was coated in a force field. And the Gauss guns of the Necrons also sound beautiful. I probably should have mentioned that earlier, but honestly, I wanted to show you the gameplay itself. And also, the Faustinius is the player character or the commander we're playing as. And as you can see, as you can hear, yeah, the voice acting of the game is minimalistic. Some of the Necrons, well, the Necron Overlord can't talk in the cutscenes in normal English, but or Gothic. That's the official language of the Imperium, but to us it's English. But yeah, they didn't. It's obvious they didn't have the budget for voice actors, but I really love that. I'm kind of glad that the minimalistic budget can and will occasionally provide a better experience in my book. So yeah, lack of voice actors brings out the creative side of the developers. The developers, the audio engineering team in particular. They had to create sounds that resembled radio chatter and that sounds like something a tech priest would sound like. So as you can see, this is the post-game screen where we're not graded, but we do get our money's worth for everything that we did, as well as our costs for damaging tech priests and bringing our Skitarii fighters back to the fray. As you can see, for every healthy and alive Skitarii, we get a small bonus in Blackstone, and for every injured, well, not only tech priest but also Skitarii, that bonus is reduced. I kind of wish that this post-mission debriefing could be sped up a bit, because there is only a close button and that automatically skips everything, so you cannot see what actually happened. So yeah, the timer once the mission is over is calculated into the overall timer of the awakening, and the higher the timer, the bigger the problem. Once this timer reaches 100, we have to leave the world, and depending on how our missions were completed, it will dictate the ending a bit. So yeah, that's the mission report. And welcome to our flagship, where the tech priest resides. Where our main tech priest resides and his retinue. And this is our mission report, all things considered. So far, these are the story missions we managed to progress through. We have to deal with the boss. As the story progresses, we will encounter these story missions, and some of our retinue will give us their insight on the situation. As you can see, I've been taking my time with this one. Honestly, I didn't want to rush it. I wanted to prepare myself for the other awakenings. But as the as the game progresses, we will unlock more of our retinue and more missions to partake in. And every mission usually generates additional enemies for us to deal with, as well as better rewards because of it. But sometimes you really need to consider, is it wise to go into a mission unprepared. I'm doing some minor missions and just trying to... I did a couple of minor missions before this one just to prepare my forces, so let's get into it. As you can see, we have quite a decent retinue of Skitarii fighters for us. We have 4, and we can unlock more as the game progresses. And occasionally we will encounter visual bugs such as this, where one of your tech priests' inventory and skill list is displayed, but not the skill list, not the inventory of the other character behind that you're actually trying to see. So as you can see, I have a retinue of Skitarii as well as tech priests. You can have 6 in total, and you can unlock them with after every mission, provided you're successful in the said mission. And the main focus of the game is usually tech priests. These guys are your bread and butter of the army. Their abilities can either boost the Skitarii, your Skitarii fighters, or the tech priests in general. So for this one, I'm gonna. This is my main fighter. So he's. I'll give you a demonstration of how he looks like. As you can see, you can customize every tech priest to suit your playstyle. As you can see, this one has a bigger backpack and is more oriented towards support abilities, while this tech priest is mostly equipped with higher tier weaponry and damage dealing abilities. And once I unlock his dendrite hands, I can mechanical claws. He will be even more devastating. So let's invest a bit into him. So depending on how much blackstone you have, you'll be able to upgrade. Well, you can upgrade any section of the skill tree depending on your personal preference. But what I would recommend is that you do try to invest into at least the first 2 tiers of every tree. It will generate you some armor as well as some additional passive bonuses that your tech priest could use to survive. For example, Explorator grants you extra movement as well as damage output. Secutor is more of a melee focused unit, and more of a commander and melee focused unit, so depending on your choices, you can have a pretty devastating tank and damage dealer. So I'm going to focus on... I'm going to make a choice here. I already did change his legs, so I'm going to give him an extra energy shield. Actually, no, it's the energy shields do not stack upon each other. They're just... let me show you. No, not you. We should probably. This is the newest tech priest that we got from the latest mission, so he's pretty low rank, all things considered. But depending on my choices, I can either switch up some armor pieces for better equipment, or I can just stack up items that grant me extra armor or other abilities. Unfortunately, the game doesn't allow you to you cannot compare. You cannot compare what the gear pieces you have in your inventory with the gear pieces you have on the character, which is somewhat annoying, but all things considered, it's probably for the best. Now, your main goal of the game is to consider how and what to upgrade. As I said, every character should. It's a good idea to unlock at least the first tier of every skill tree, so that your characters can survive. So that your characters have additional abilities, at least passively, and then focus your attention to one specific tree for a specific character. Now, give me a second. I'm trying to remember. This guy is our. He's mostly our cognition. He's primarily the cognition collection ability. But he could use some extra armor. So I'm going to grant him that ability. I'm going to grant him the ability immediately. So, extra physical armor for everyone. Seriously, if I just upgrade it. Anyway, yeah. As the game goes, you will unlock additional Skitari fighters, as well as additional tech priests to fight for you. And the only ones you can upgrade are tech priests. So you might want to. You really want to. Weigh in the pros and cons of having multiple tech priests on your forces. If the more you have, the more resources you have to spread out across them, as the game features permadeath. So if you lose your highly leveled veteran, you cannot get him back you cannot get the tech priest back. So you'll have to start the whole process over, and depending on how close to the ending you are, you probably won't have enough time to create a strong enough army to survive the end mission. Tech trees allow you to check what items you collected so far, and I think that carries over to the next to the New Game Plus, if I'm not mistaken. I still haven't finished. As I said, I played 2 games simultaneously, so. Close to the ending with the second playthrough, but this one is primarily just for the first impressions. So yeah, I didn't unlock everything just yet, but as you take on more challenging missions, you'll get better rewards and better fighters. And depending on the tech you unlock, you will get better gear, as well as better personnel. And holy, so this is where Mandalore Gaming got that theme song. Nice. Anyway, we're getting close to this one, close to the end, so I'm just going to try to speed this up a bit. So as you can see, these are the canticles that you can equip to your forces as you go on missions. These are basically your achievements you possess, you get into the game. The more you, they're all listed for you, so you know what your end goals are in order to achieve them. So, for example, if you want to get energy armor, you need to perform 300 energy attacks with your plasma pistol, for example. And if you want to heal yourself up, you have to deal 100 damage to your enemies, for example. I think that's how I unlocked the Litany of Life. And depending on how much cognition points you have at your disposal, you can also unlock additional stronger litanies that will give you better bonuses, but try to keep them limited to what you actually have at the moment. These are at least one use on mission litanies that you can only use once on the mission. So consider when you want to use them and on who. So yeah, mostly you have a lot of litanies to unlock in the game, but you can only carry 3. So consider your options carefully when you're playing them. No, I don't want to do that. Let's get back to the mission briefing. I'm gonna let's see. What do we want? Hard, difficult? I'm not going to start the mission just yet. I'm just going to give you a quick briefing of the situation. As you saw, the game world, the hub world is designed very beautifully. It really sells that this is a tech-based ship. A lot of, as you can see, there's a lot of wiring going around, a lot of lots of mechanically organized. Well, no, it's what's the word? It is organized in a. It goes for efficiency and not for aesthetic when it comes to the ship's interiors, and that's something I really enjoyed. It shows that Bulwark Studios really respects the IP that they're working with, and I really love the sound design of the game. The movement, the sounds of the weapons, and even the voice acting really plays into the idea that this is a religious order of technicians, and the music resembles that as well. It's as you can hear, this is Gregorian chanting of sorts, but there's a decent mixture of machinery in it, so that really does. It really feels like you're in a tech priest ship, all things considered. Granted, I kind of wish that the UI was. I mean, the UI is very well designed. It's well optimized. You get all the information you need, but I really wish that you could compare what your tech priest is currently wearing with what you're trying to equip on him. It would make equipping a lot easier for everyone. Damn it, I keep forgetting that's not how it works. But the design of the UI is something I don't hate it, but I'm not sure. I'm indifferent to it. I think it can be better, but it does look like something you would see in something that belongs. The UI looks like it belongs in the game itself, is what I'm trying to say. It really looks like it's part of the machine cult, if it makes any sense. But I honestly think that's something that more could have been done as well. Granted, I kind of wish that there were a bit more in animation department when it comes to idle animations of the UI. I mean, these guys are just moving partially, but it kind of feels like it's a bunch of corpses doing nothing. Anyway, that's about it when it comes to the Mechanicus. You take on missions, you fight off different enemies, and depending on the novelty of the enemies, you will get small bits of dialogue between your entourage and your commander. And if you're successful, you're rewarded with extra technology, extra troops, and additional currency. And depending on the difficulty of the mission, the better the rewards. That honestly explains itself. Anyway, I think that's about it for the gameplay department. I'm just gonna go back to the main menu. I honestly wanted to do something different. A friend of mine did mention that I do take a lot of time by explaining the settings and everything of the options menu, so I'm just gonna end it here. If you want to close off the video here, good for you. Thank you for sticking with us so far. I do hope that you enjoyed what you saw of the gameplay. I really think that the game's good. It has some minor problems such as camera controls on occasion, and as well as unresponsive mouse controls a few times, but otherwise the game's stable. It doesn't crash. It's running smoothly, and I do enjoy the gameplay and the attention to detail that the developers did put into it. I'm just gonna take a quick look at the settings menu here, and then that's it for the video. So if you're done here, thank you very much for watching. My name has been Bedomy, and I'll see you next time. But if you're interested in the settings menu, stay a while. This will be over quickly. As you can see in the settings menu, we have where it's fairly limited. All things considered, it does what it's meant to do. But I kind of wish there was a bit more to it. So for the audio menu, you have master volume and separate sliders for every volume, which is a good thing. Video options allow you to adjust the full screen on or off, VSync, and everything else from the visual set of things on or off. The only things you can choose is the resolution. And the last option you have is the language options for the subtitles, and the ability to share your PC information and game information with the developers. I'm honestly against this. I don't like sharing my personal data with anyone. Well, not my PC data at the very least. So I would recommend that you turn this off when you start the game, if it's not turned off already. And yeah, last but not least, you also have the key bindings, which are pretty well made. Every action has a separate key attached to it, which is good. And every other interaction in the game also has a separate key attached to it. So all things considered, this is a pretty well optimized game. I'm not sure about the bloom effect, though. It's kind of this distracting, at the very least. Granted, if you're watching this, you're usually watching this from top-down perspective, so it's not a problem. But if you scroll the camera closer, you saw what I meant. You saw that earlier on. Once you scroll the camera closer, you will see that your character is, if it's not in the main focus of the camera, he'll become blurry. So, I mean, the ship already is, as you can see, this side of the ship is blurry, even though it's the closest thing to us camera-wise. But since it's not the center of the camera, it's not as clear and crisp as the ship's cannon and the port side. Or I'm not sure if it's this. I know it's the side of the ship, but anyway, that's about it when it comes to the gameplay and the Mechanicus, as well as its options menu. There is an expansion called Dark Mechanicus, which introduces the Dark Mechanicus, or the Adeptus Mechanicus followers that fell to chaos, and now they'll be fighting you. They'll be fighting your forces on the world itself. Let's see. I did mention that the enemy come in many variations, so I would recommend that you try to explore as many missions as possible. Just be careful not to lose your troopers too early, because, well, if you want to lose troopers, lose the Skitarii. They're expandable. The tech priests, those guys they're hard to replace. So try to keep the tech priests alive for as long as possible. And every enemy has why am I saying this on the in-game, on the menu screen? I can just I'm not gonna show it to you directly. I'm gonna load this. I'm gonna load the gameplay a bit more and just talk over that. But anyway, yeah, the enemy variations are pretty nicely created, all things considered. You have the basic shock troop, basic Gauss cannon wielding Necron troopers, the heavy destroyers, the jetpacking, the snipering overseers, the small but annoying scarabs. You also have the melee-oriented guardians, and even more as the game progresses. So do try to keep your forces protected from enemy fire, and try to put your enemies into opportunity, to melee range when you can, so they cannot do their actual damage to you without suffering the consequences. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. Thank you very much for watching. My name has been Bedomy, and honestly, if you're planning on playing this game, I would recommend that you buy it on GOG because it's cheaper and it goes on sale pretty often. Unfortunately, I do not have a GOG partnership, so I cannot offer you a discount on my own, but if you go to Mandalore Gaming, I think he has a permanent discount link for everyone, so go give the guy a watch. He does a lot of great content, that's about it for me. Guys, thank you very much for watching. My name has been Bedomy, and I'll see you next time. Good night.